History of my oldest ancestors from whom I am very proud to be descended. January 13, 858. Die Æthelwulf, my 37th to 45th grandfather, 9 times my grandfather, King of Kent and King of Wessex, character who appears in the television series Vikings. Æthelwulf, King of Kent, King of Wessex, born in 800, and died on the 13th of January 858, was the son of Egbert, the Great, King of Wessex and Redburger of Francia, paternal grandson of Ealhmund, King of Kent. Æthelwulf of Wessex was King of Kent and King of Wessex from 839 until his death on the 13th of January 858. He was the only known son of King Egbert of Wessex. He conquered the Kingdom of Kent on behalf of his father in 825, and was some time later appointed King of Kent as Egbert's viceroy. He succeeded his father as King of Wessex on Egbert's death in 839, when his kingdom extended from County Kent in the east to Devon in the west. At the same time, his eldest son Æthelstan became Viceroy of Kent. Background. By the early 9th century, England was almost completely under Anglo-Saxon control, with Mercia and Wessex being the most important southern kingdoms. Mercia was dominant until the 820s, and exercised sovereignty over East Anglia and Kent, but Wessex was able to maintain independence from its more powerful neighbour. Offa, King of Mercia from 757 to 796, was the dominant figure of the second half of the 8th century. King Beorhtric of Wessex married Offa's daughter in 789. Beorhtric and Offa kept Æthelwulf's father Egbert in exile, and he spent several years at the court of Charlemagne in France. Egbert was the son of Ealhmund, who had been King of Kent in 784. After Offa's death, King Coenwulf of Mercia retained rule over Mercia, but it is not known whether Beorhtric ever accepted political subordination, and when he died, in 802, Egbert became king, perhaps with the support of Charlemagne. For 200 years, 3 families fought for the West Saxon throne, and no son followed his father as king. Nothing is recorded of the first 20 years of Egbert's reign, apart from campaigns against Cornwall in the 810s. Historian Richard Abels argues that the Anglo-Saxon chronicle's silence was probably intentional, concealing the purge of Egbert by Beorhtric's noble allies and the suppression of rival royal lines. Relations between the Mercian kings and their Kentish subjects were distant. England suffered Viking raids in the late 8th century, but no raids were recorded between 794 and 835, when the Isle of Sheppey in Kent was ravaged. In 836 Egbert was defeated by the Vikings at Carhampton, Somerset, but in 838 he defeated an alliance of Cornishmen and Vikings at the Battle of Hingston Down. Æthelwulf's youth. Æthelwulf is first recorded in 825, when Egbert won the Battle of Ellendon in Wiltshire against King Beornwulf of Mercia, ending the long Mercian ascendancy over southern England. Egbert followed him by sending Æthelwulf with Ealhstan, Bishop of Sherborne, and Wulfhard, Alderman of Hampshire, with a large army into Kent to drive Baldred out. Æthelwulf was descended from the kings of Kent, and was Viceroy of Kent, Surrey, Sussex and Essex, which were then integrated into the kingdom, until he inherited the throne of Wessex in 839. His reign is recorded in charters, in some of which King Egbert acted with his son's permission, as he made a grant in 838 to Bishop Beornmudo of Rochester, Æthelwulf himself issuing a charter as King of Kent in the same year. Unlike his Mercian predecessors, who alienated the people of Kent by ruling from afar, Æthelwulf and his father successfully cultivated local support, promoting their interests. In Abels's view, Egbert and Æthelwulf rewarded their friends and purged Mercia's supporters. Historians take different views on the new regime's attitude towards the Kentish Church. At Canterbury in 828, Egbert granted privileges to the bishopric of Rochester, and according to the historian of Anglo-Saxon England Simon Keynes, Egbert and Æthelwulf took steps to secure the support of Archbishop Wulfrid. Reign. Historians present conflicting opinions about Æthelwulf. According to Richard Humble, Æthelwulf had his own style of royalty. Æthelwulf had come to the throne of Wessex by inheritance. He proved to be very religious, cursed with a weak political sense, and with many capable and ambitious children. For Frank Stenton, Æthelwulf appears to have been a religious and unambitious man, for whom involvement in war and politics was an unpleasant consequence of his position. However, Janet Nelson believes that his reign has been undervalued in modern scholarship, and that he laid the foundation for King Alfred's success. In Simon Keen's view, it was he, more than any other, who secured the political wealth of his people in the 9th century, and who opened the lines of communication that carried them through the Frankish kingdoms and across the Alps to Rome. Family life. One of Æthelwulf's first acts as king was to divide the kingdom. He gave the eastern half, including Kent, Essex, Surrey and Sussex, to his eldest son Æthelstan. Æthelwulf kept western Wessex, Hampshire, Wiltshire, Dorset, and Devon for himself. Æthelwulf and his first wife, Osburga of White, my 37th grandmother, 8 times my grandmother, had 5 sons and 1 daughter, Æthelstan, Æthelbald, Æthelbert, Evald, and Alfred. Each of his sons, with the exception of Æthelstan, succeeded him to the throne. Alfred the Younger is praised as one of the greatest kings ever to reign in England. Æthelwulf's only daughter, Æthelswit, was married, as a child, to Burgred of Mercia. The pilgrimage to Rome, marriage, Æthelbald's conspiracy, and death. Faith has always been an important part of Æthelwulf's life. In the first year of his reign he planned a pilgrimage to Rome. Due to the increase in raids, he felt the need to appeal to the God of the Christians so that he would help him against the enemy so agile, numerous, and profane. In 853, Æthelwulf sent his son Alfred, a 4-year-old child, to Rome. In 855, about a year after the death of his wife Osburga, Æthelwulf followed Alfred to Rome. He distributed gold to the clergy of St. Peter's and offered chalices of the purest gold and silver candlesticks made by the Saxons. During his return in 856, Æthelwulf married Judith of Flanders, a Frankish princess and great-granddaughter of Charlemagne. She was approximately 12 years old and was the daughter of Charles the Bald, king of the West Franks. Upon arriving in England in 856, Æthelwulf faced a huge crisis. His eldest surviving son, Æthelbald, had hatched a conspiracy with the chief magistrate of Somerset and against the Bishop of Sherborne to oppose Æthelwulf's regency. There was enough support for Æthelwulf to either start a civil war or to banish Æthelbald and his conspirators, but instead Æthelwulf handed over western Wessex to his son and kept central Wessex and eastern Wessex. The absence of coins bearing Æthelbald's name suggests that coinage in western Wessex was always struck under Æthelwulf's name until his death. Æthelwulf ruled until his death on the 13th of January 858. The reign of Æthelwulf granted a special concession to the Saxon queens. The West Saxons did not allow the queen to sit next to the king. The fact is that they were not called queens, but treated as simply the king's wife. This restriction was lifted for Queen Judith, presumably because of her high nobility as a European princess. Æthelwulf was buried first at Steyning, and later transferred to Old Minster, Winchester. His remains now rest in one of several sarcophagi in Winchester Cathedral. Family and descendants. Æthelwulf married, in 830, Osburga of White, my 37th to 45th grandmother, 8 times my grandmother, daughter of Oshlak of Hampshire and Edburga of White, with whom he had 6 children, 4 of whom were kings of Wessex. Æthelstan, eldest son. The only one who did not reign. Æthelbald, married in 858 Judith, his father's wife. He reigned from 858 to 860. Æthelbert, king of Wessex. Evald, king of Wessex married Wulfhilda, my 36th to 44th grandparents, 8 times my grandparents. Æthelsvita, married to Burgred of Mercia. Alfred, the Great, king of Wessex upon succeeding his brother married Elesvita, my 36th to 43rd grandparents, 8 times my grandparents.